Welcome to Our National Conversation, a podcast in which we discuss politics from all angles. We are completely nonpartisan, and all views, respectfully stated, are welcome here. Our podcast is unique in that it is hosted and run by students who are focused on finding solutions to the biggest problems facing America.
Hello, everyone. I'm Taylor Lopez. Thank you all for joining us. And today we're going to be discussing a story that sparked millions of views and conversations across social media. An American content creator, Alex Sunny, has recently announced that she plans to move to Afghanistan to live with her husband after the two met online using Snapchat. They have met online, been married, and spent a lot of their relationship living apart. While Alex says her decision is based on love and keeping her family together, this announcement quickly became more just about the relationship. It sparked conversations about women's rights, cultural differences, personal freedom, and a responsibility we have in discussing countries' experiences with ongoing human rights concerns. Before we go into Alex's story, it's important to understand why the story is really important and has generated such strong reactions since the Taliban has returned to power in 2021. Women's rights in Afghanistan have been significantly restricted. According to women's rights organization and international advocacy groups, women are prohibited from attending secondary schools and universities. Many women have been barred from working in certain professions, and women have overall lost their ability to speak in public. One of the most widely discussed policies involving restrictions on their voices, especially under the Taliban mortality laws that women are facing. More recently, international organizations have also raised concerns about the new Taliban marriage laws. With international Amnesty, they argue that the legal changes can weaken their protections against child marriage. So, with all of this backdrop and information, Alex's decision has become a much larger conversation than just one person's relationship. But as always, we're here to have an open, balanced discussion and hear everyone's perspectives. So, for the people here, what did you guys think when you heard the story online?
I was shocked. I thought it was like an engagement farming type of thing where at first, because it just seemed so ignorant that I was like, this person has to be, trolling or however you would say it. I think it's incredibly ignorant, and I think it is sad that she feels that there's something there that she can't have in the US. And I think it's right. I think everybody's reaction is completely correct. It's idiotic, especially if she plans on having, I'm not sure if she has kids already, but if she plans on having children with this man. Not only is it now a decision that she made, but for herself, but it would also affect her children, especially if she had daughters. Um, and I think that also shows there's actually women who are in Afghanistan telling her not to come, like, don't do it. You are throwing away your freedoms. And yeah, that's how it made me feel. And in the beginning, it was almost, I felt a little bit of a panic, like, no, please don't go. But the more she talked and the more she was just completely disregarding everybody who's telling her that she should not be going there, even the people that currently live there, I'm now at a point where it's like, you know what? Just let her go. Let her go. It's incredibly sad. It's terrible that she has to go through this. But I mean, if the entire world's telling you not to do something, and here's exactly why, and here's the proof as to why, and here's what's going to happen to you, and here are real life experiences from other women who are currently living in the place you're trying to move to. And this person is just disregarding all of it and saying, you don't understand. There's a lot of stereotypes that, aren't necessarily true. I'm just like, at this point, it's maybe, I know it sounds terrible, but she may just have to learn her lesson. And unfortunately, that could mean that it would be difficult for her to get back to the US, but people did what they could. They told her not to go. And I don't think that we should continue to give her attention, because I think it's just going to encourage her to go, even more, just to kind of show people that they're quote unquote wrong, if that makes sense. Um, but yeah, it was shocking. I had a whole bunch of different emotions. At first, I was like, we've got to save her. Now I'm like, you know what? At this point, just let her go. Let her see for herself, unfortunately. That's my take on it.
Yeah, I thought it was rage bait.
Yeah.
I thought this was like a joke just online because she posted it on TikTok. I went through her account, and she doesn't even have that many videos. So I was like, okay, maybe she's just doing it to like talk out loud, maybe just gain a following. But you mentioned it earlier, people in the comments were like being like, girl, you can't play. She was talking about like, oh, I want to just go outside. I want to play around, have fun, talk with people. I don't know how she expects to do that.
Mhm.
Um, at, like the Taliban's rule, it's not, I'm sure it's like in certain locations, it's going to be a little bit more flex, but as a country in general, you can't even have like toys with certain logos or branding of a woman or a man. They're so incredibly strict. She even mentioned that she wanted to go to the gym, I believe, and she outed, was it, she outed her fiance's aunt saying that she goes to a women, like an all women private gym, and that is just straight up illegal. So she's
Yeah.
talking about publicly breaking the law and how she thinks that all of these things are going to be okay. It's just insane because she even talked about her husband getting denied a visa and he's not allowed to come over here. So that's the whole reason why she's going over there. But I thought originally it was because maybe it gained traction, like, oh, she just needs help. Maybe it's because we're specifically talking about Afghanistan or we're just reacting to the more like emotional part about it.
Mhm.
But I don't know, has this shaped the way that you perceive like social media? Like, let me say that again. How much did social media shape your like first impression of that before watching the video?
Quite a bit because it was so unbelievable to me that I thought, like you said, that they were trolling or they were it was rage bait or something like that because that's such a common thing in internet culture now. I'm gonna say the most outrageous thing because it's gonna, gain internet traction. I can get my thing monetized and I can make money off of my platform. Who cares, what people think about me? I'm gonna make money off of this. That is very common, unfortunately. And then, but like as time went on, I realized she was being completely serious. But at the same time, and I know I'm kind of veering off of like how social media shaped my opinion on this, but it's almost like even with all the things that is, all the issues that we're having in the US right now, right? A lot of people are not happy with how the state of the US is right now, myself included. Fine. But even with all of that, anybody who knows anything about Afghanistan would never move from the USA to Afghanistan. Um, because it is, as far as women's rights, human rights go, it is a huge, huge, huge downgrade. And yeah, it's unbelievable. It's shocking. And I'm again like in between feelings. I don't know what to feel. I don't know if I should feel sorry for her that she's, not educated about the country and she's about to destroy her whole life, or if she's doing this for love, or if I'm angry with her, or if, and then again, part of me is like, you know what, maybe I shouldn't care. Maybe just, let her do it. And then other people can see that this is not something that you want to do. But again, completely unbelievable. And I thought it was rage bait, as you said, because again, that's such a common internet tactic to gain likes. But she's not rage baiting. She's 100% serious, which blows my mind even more, honestly.
You know, I don't know anything about the story. I don't hang out on social media. I personally would urge her to stay home and not go over there.
Yeah.
But it seems like in these conflicts, there are always these situations. I remember some years ago, there was a guy called the American Taliban. I think the American troops got into a firefight with some people on the other side. They arrested these people, and one of them turned out to be American, and the Americans who captured him were in shock, and he ended up being called the American Taliban. I don't know if this was in Iraq or Afghanistan. I think Afghanistan. Um, and when the fight broke out between Russia and the Ukraine, a lot of Americans went over there to volunteer to fight for the Ukraine. So how do you stop people from doing this? I mean, this is a free country, and I guess if people want to make their own mistakes, don't we need to give them the freedom to do that?
Yep. I I mean, I agree with you that I guess we do need to give people the freedom to do that.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do it. I'd be scared to death.
Yeah.
But I don't know. You know, people are motivated by different things. I mean, what you're saying is she's motivated by love. It's not just to get clicks. So
Yeah.
that complicates things a little bit. I mean, if you're truly in love with someone and you got married to him and you want to go live with him, can we really say
Yeah.
to that person you can't do that?
No. We can say it's stupid to do it because um I mean, from my knowledge, they haven't spent a whole lot of time together in real life either, right, Taylor?
They
Like
haven't met
she
in general. They've
Okay, so
been,
she met him online and she
yes.
doesn't even know this guy. And but they're married. They somehow got married
Yeah,
over.
he proposed to her online. I have no clue how that happened, but she is technically married. That's why she was trying to get him to have a visa. And they actually got approved for, like, they got approved um a while back for it.
Mhm.
They spent like thousands of dollars on just the forms alone. And something overall, he said, I can't do it. I'm not able or in the right position to. So now she's trying to go. But I mean, sh Alex says she understands the risk, right? And believes that this is the best decision for her family, like despite the internet or her family, whoever is telling her. Do you think that love can justify taking risks that other people may not understand? I know this is a more personal question, but
I think I think in a way, yes. When you love someone, you're using less of your brain, and so it's easier for you to do something that maybe you wouldn't do if you weren't in love. I do think that there's a limit. I'm not sure where that limit is, but I do know that this goes beyond just love for in this situation. To love somebody is to know them, first of all. And I think she loves the idea of him because she hasn't even really spent any time with him in real life. So in my head, I think that yes, love can make you do things that you normally wouldn't do. But I don't see this as love. I don't think that he loves her. And I think that maybe she it's like a parasocial love or like a obsession or just love the idea of being loved because how can you truly love somebody if you don't know them, right? It's the same thing as saying, oh, I'm in love with a celebrity, right? Because I know so much about this person, but you've never met this person before, so you can't say that you're actually in love with them. And so I think that complicates this particular situation a little bit more. Because again, I do think that love can make you do crazy things, but I don't know if that's the case here. I think it's something else.
where would you say is like that line for you then?
I think that's a hard question. I think if I think it depends. I think it varies from person to person. But something that I always think about is like, for example, moving to it, let's say moving to a new state, right? Because I really do think it varies from person to person. And I think my point of view might be different from somebody else's. Like the way that I think is like, okay, let's say my partner wanted to move somewhere or something like that. In my head, my first thought would be, would I want to do this if I wasn't in love? What would my life look like if I did this and I was single or things like that? And it's really just rationalizing, I guess, or keeping that voice inside of you and like your individuality and just, but at the same time, I still can't, I don't know where that line would be drawn in general. I just know for me, that's I would draw the line at how would this affect my future? We only got one life, right? And the person that I would want to be with would be somebody that would complement me, not take over my life completely. And we complement each other. And, maybe we compromise and maybe we make smaller sacrifices so that we can stay together and stay in proximity with each other. But yeah, I think there's a limit. And my limit is might be different from everybody else's, but I wouldn't do something like this. And I think a majority of people are able to at least rationalize or draw a line in the sand somewhere. And maybe not an exact spot, but at least a spot where it's like, okay, this is going to affect me, and this is going to affect my children, and this is going to affect, everything else. And so, yeah, I know I'm just kind of rambling on. I have a whole lot of thoughts about this, and I'm not entirely sure where I stand on everything, but
Well, I'm
yeah.
curious. Again, I'm not on social media really. So what are they saying on social media? What is the response?
So a lot of the people are mainly the people who are going to talk to her are Afghanistan women. So one, they're technically not even supposed to be like really replying to these things. Social media is very restricted. So the fact that women are already like coming out and speaking about it is like already a big thing. But they're like, you can't be, it's not wise to be going out here. Here is our clothing attire. We just got new clothes that are so like you can't even see everyone. I actually just wrote an article about it. I'm talking with Autumn about getting this published soon, but it's more commonly seen where they're all wearing these like blue, um, like articles of clothing from like their head all the way to like their feet. It's like dragging on the floor. So they're talking about their clothing. They're talking about just women rights. Let's say you were to wear makeup, even in your own household, and if your husband were to see this as inappropriate, he could just beat you. You could like almost die, and this would be okay. They're talking about more of the safety for women's rights as you're going to be married. These are what's legal for a wife and husband to do over here and what should be expected along the fact that she also leaked a personal gym, a woman's gym, which is even not technically allowed. So now we don't know if the aunt is technically getting in trouble for this, but she did talk about something illegal. So that is being talked about and how it shouldn't really be spread, but it's just a lot of warnings.
Yeah. Yeah. Women from Afghanistan who are, like you said, are not supposed to be commenting on the internet and are, risking their own safety to say, hey, don't come here. You are better off where you are. Trust me. And this girl still won't listen. It's baffling. It's baffling. But there's also, answering your question a little further, Jeff, there's also people in the US, UK, all over the world commenting on this. But I think that the comments that hold the most weight should be the women who actually live in Afghanistan are telling her, for yourself, do not come here.
And the people from the UK or the US, what are they generally saying?
Same thing. Don't go. Some are like, you know what, let her go. kind of like how I was, like, just at this point, we told her not to, just let her go, let her be dumb. And then the others are like, some people are like, we need to save this woman. And then there's others who are just talking to each other about it. But for the most part, if not, I would say everybody in the US that has known about this story thinks it's ridiculous that she would do that. And again, it's bad in the US, but you know, it's nowhere close to as bad as it is in Afghanistan for women. So
This can work in reverse too. I mean, we had soldiers in Afghanistan. I'm sure in several instances, American soldiers found mates who were Afghanis, and then when they got married, they wanted to bring them back to the US, and they probably were successful in doing that. I know in Vietnam that was a big deal. A lot of American soldiers met Vietnamese women, they married them, brought them back, and have multiracial children. So it's not just, I mean, what you're really saying is it's okay if people meet each other however they meet and they want to go live with each other, but it's dangerous in this situation. And you're warning this lady saying, if you're
mhm.
smart, lady, you won't go.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yep. And I
There,
think that that's what most people are saying.
Yeah.
yeah, there's like debate over because Afghanistan is on like this list, like this no ban list with like the president right now. Maybe when the next president gets into office, this will be easier. So people are also like suggesting waiting for the next term to see if any like legal laws will change so she is able to go over there when it's a little bit more accessible. But I noticed that when I was having these conversations with some friends, there was almost like people were talking about like a responsibility that social media has over it. I don't know how I personally feel because obviously these people have formed their own opinions about the story in just like a few days. But is there really like a responsibility over like do these creators or like and their viewers um have a responsibility? Because I don't think so. If a person is just going to do whatever they please, you can warn them as much as you want. But if a person isn't going to listen, then that is up to their own discretion, you know? But should influencers be provided more context? And how can we even, I don't know, how can we even like verify information before like sharing it to make sure? But obviously, we have like the women who are like advocating for this. We have articles that are just popping up constantly, like left and right, which is surprising. Um, but does like social media reward outrage over understanding?
I think social media tends to create more outrage than it does understanding. And in regards to what you were saying, whether social media influencers have a responsibility, I don't think they do at all. I think she should have, I mean, I would hope that she has at least one or two loved ones around her, or, people who she actually knows that would rally around her and actually try to talk her out of it and give her other resources and things like that. But I don't think it's that influencers are responsible, because I mean, even just thinking from an individual perspective, if I posted some issue I had and some influencer had their opinion on it, I would be like, I don't know this person. Like, why do I care what they have to say about it? And so I really think it's up to her loved ones, really, to try to stop her from going. Now, I do think in when it comes to influencers, they can be helpful when it comes to issues on a larger scale. So larger issues like, for example, the influencers who speak about like what's going on in Israel and Palestine, right? Like that makes sense to me, because you're speaking to a wider audience and you're trying to change their view on things. In the case of like individual situations like this, I don't think it's helpful. I think you have to be surrounded by people you respect and love, in order for, your opinion to be able to change. So no, I don't think it is the responsibility of influencers to talk about it. But I do think that influencers should bring more attention to the wider scale issues that are in Afghanistan. So, like, what women have to go through and things like that. And then from there, people can take that information and form, their own opinions about it.
Yeah, I completely agree. I kind of want to leave aside Alex for like just a second and think of it in maybe like a more broader scale. How do we balance respect for someone's personal choices um, with concern for like documented human rights issue? Like, how are we able to like show empathy and concern like coexisting?
Well, this kind of backtracks a little bit on what I just said, but I was going to say, informing people, I think, is the right way to go. Just informing them, telling them their options, telling them, all the nitty gritty stuff, the good stuff, the bad stuff. Um, it is still equally important to allow people to have their individual freedoms and make decisions for themselves. Now, that decision may be a stupid decision and it may not work out for them, but I think that it is so important to have the liberty to choose, even in situations where you think that is the dumbest choice I've ever seen. Because once we start taking away the small civil liberties, even ones that could lead to negative outcomes, right? It becomes a little shaky, and then other civil liberties can be taken away as well. So I think just informing people and telling them that you're there for them. Um, Here's some resources. Here's some information. Uh, you know, I don't know why you want to do this. And I love you, but it's just it's not the way. And here's why. And here are some better options. I think that's the way to do it. Because again, I don't think that we should take these types of decisions away from people because it can lead to other individual liberties getting taken away. So, yeah.
There are other situations where women, I guess it could be men or women. I don't know how it works, but there are people who are in jail for serious offenses. Maybe they murdered somebody or whatever, and people will find them and get into like a pen pal relationship with them. I don't know if it's done digitally or through old-fashioned letters, and people claim to fall in love and they want to marry these people who are in jail and they're going to be in jail for a long time. So I don't know. I mean, this kind of stuff might happen a lot more often than we realize because we're not paying attention to it.
Yeah,
I mean,
that is
if,
true.
if you had a friend who wanted to fall in love with somebody who's in jail, you'd have the same recommendation, I'm sure, which is don't do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Don't
Mhm.
do it, but and don't do it. Here's why. And but that's as far as it goes. I mean, and of course you could choose whether or not you wanted to be associated with that person afterwards, but yeah, that's all you can do. And really, honestly, I think to an extent that's the way it should be because as much as I would never date somebody that's in prison, um, who's to say that if we don't allow felons to date people who are not felons, what's that going to lead to? That could lead to something else where another freedom is taken away. And so to an extent you just kind of, I hate to say it, but like let people be stupid and just hope that they will take your advice and respect you enough to take your advice. And if not, then so that is a shame. And I hope the best for them. And I hope that they learn their lesson and nothing terrible happens to them.
Yeah, I think that Alex Sunny's decision has become more than definitely just like a virtual headline. It's opened like a lot of conversations about love, personal freedom, cultural understanding, women's rights. But whether people agree with her decision or not, the story like reminds us that behind many viral moments or all of these like complex issues, they deserve these thoughtful kind of conversations and discussions with having people who will like carefully listen and have like that willingness to be open and understand different perspectives like further from our own. So thank you all for joining us today in this little conversation, and we'll see you next time.
I
This podcast was brought to you by Our National Conversation, a place where students generate policy solutions to the biggest problems facing America. Join us in freeing political dialogue from hyperpartisanship. To learn more about what you heard today, check us out at ournationalconversation.org. You can also follow us on social media at Our National Conversation to show your support and keep up with our latest efforts.